Devil May Cry.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're taking a look on how to make two different kinds of Devil May Cry signs. Ever since I made that Devil May Cry neon sign in blue from DMC5, people have been asking me. One person has asked me how to make other versions of the Devil May Cry sign. So I thought I'd tackle two in one video. One is a lot simpler and a lot cheaper look. The other one actually requires some hardware tools. So I decided to make like a cheaper one for those who are just trying to get some little arts and crafts things going. And the other one's sort of something more stable that you would maybe put in your bedroom or something like that. Both of which are pretty cool and relatively easy to make. This is the first one I'm going to show you to make today. This one's a little easier to make. It just requires a cardboard box of some sort and an X-Acto knife. I'll run you through the tools in a minute. But this one would be more for someone under 18. The other one I'm going to show you is for someone over 18 because there's some dangerously tools you have to use. This one's a little cooler to make. You can't really see it too well. There's a lot of light flooded on me right now. I have like 3 different lights hitting me right now. But I'll show you later on in the dark how it looks. This one was a lot tougher to make, and unless you have the tools, this one's going to be pretty expensive. Unless of course you have a friend who has the tools. Also, I'd recommend that you have, safety gear when you use something like this. I was wearing goggles when I was using the Dremel. Again, I'll show you about that later. This one I'm going to make in the second half of the video, so if you want to see that, skip ahead, go to this time code right here. Otherwise, let's get started, guys.
Alright, so here's a list of the things you're going to need. This is called acetate paper. It's a clear gel paper with a white film over it. You can easily peel that off. Right now, just leave it on because we're going to use it for later. I found this at a local art store, but if you can't find something, a clear duotang or something that you can just cut apart will do just fine as well. Glue. This is the instant glue I use for most of my projects. It's always really handy, but you will also need a glue gun for this one later on down the line. We're going to use tape. We're going to use duct tape for the more heavy duty parts, and electrical tape for a little smaller jobs. An X-Acto blade, because believe it or not, we're going to be doing a lot of cutting, or more like tracing with a blade. Some sort of cardboard box, preferably something thin enough that you can cut right through it. Not those thick, bulky cardboard boxes though. Something that you would normally find food in. A multi-purpose light. This one I found at the dollar store. It was about $2. You can find these just about anywhere. Here I had to go print 2 copies of the Devil May Cry logo. I don't have a working printer here, so I had to print these out at a local store. I have 2 different sizes, one a little longer because my Hot Pocket box is a little long. And for those 2 prints, let's see how much I paid for here. What? $5? Geez, this stuff isn't cheap. Definitely use your own printer if you got one. We're also going to be using some spray paint. For this one, I'm just going to be using red and black. Alright, so go ahead and grab your print sheet. What we're going to do is we're just going to cut off the sides here. That way it's not as long, and it'll fit along the side of the box. Also with that, it'll give us enough space that we can tape it onto the box. Go ahead and grab your Hot Pocket box or whatever suits your fancy, and put your DMC picture on top of it. Try to line it up so that neither side is on an angle. Once you have it symmetrical, go ahead and start taping it down. You don't need to tape the entire thing down. I just taped the left and right sides. Once we've got it on there, we're going to start cutting it out based on the silhouette of the design. It's pretty straightforward, just follow the lines and take your time doing it, that way you don't make any mistakes. It looks like I'm just buttering my way through this, but I actually sped up this footage. I'm taking great care and caution when I'm cutting this. Anytime I mess up, it's going to leave a scratch underneath the box. And when I paint it, you'll be able to see it visibly. Once you cut it out, start pulling out the Devil May Cry sign. And there we go, a precursor to what it's going to look like. Now that we've etched it on there, we no longer need the picture, so we can take that off. You can't really see it with the camera, but if you look closely, I etched the entire Devil May Cry sign on there. Going over it again, trace it out, but a little tougher this time, that way your knife goes through the cardboard. Looks like I'm making some progress here. Note that this can be a pretty grueling process. It might cramp up your hand. Now that you have your lines etched on there, you can take breaks whenever you want. But if you stick to it, realistically you can probably do this in under an hour. The sign's slowly coming together, and I've managed to peel out all my words. With Trish finally cut out, it's a pretty good silhouette. And there we go, Devil May Cry. I'm going to take it outside and spray the interior with red. I'm going to take every chance I can to really make the red stick out. But as you won't be able to see inside, I didn't bother doing more than one coat of red. Now while I let that dry, I'm going to go back inside and take a look at this light. I'm going to disassemble it and just take a look at how it works. Now because the light is white, I'm going to take my red acetate paper and see if I can find a way to stick it in there. I trace out a piece roughly the same size as the plastic cover. Slowly, I'm getting it to the right kind of shape. Now molding the edges so they're more circular, and will fit nice and snug in the plastic cover. Once I get it in there, I start to put it back together, assembling the pieces, making sure that it will stay. And slowly but surely put the whole thing back together. I'll put the batteries back in, and there you go. We now have a red tint in our light. Going back outside and flipping the box over, I'll do one coat of black paint. Now, strictly because of the project, I only had like half a can of black paint, and I needed the other half for the other Devil May Cry sign. So I just painted the front. But I'm sure you can figure out that you have to paint the whole thing. I just didn't because I didn't have the spray paint handy, and by the time I got to this point it was already nighttime out. Back inside, I'm going to take one of the acetate papers that still has the white film on it. And slowly use my instant glue to glue on the filter permanently. Because I don't want people to see inside the Hot Pocket box, I'm going to leave that filter on. The light will still shine through red, but now people won't be able to see inside the box. The piece of paper, as it is right now, is too big for the box, so I'm going to just cut off a strip here, that way it fits nicely in the box. Once the glue is dried, and the spray paint on the box is dried, bring it back inside and get ready to glue the acetate paper to the box. Now I'm just going to follow along the design of the letters and the square shape of the paper, gluing it on bit by bit. Because it's plastic, it takes a little longer to dry, but just be patient with it. Continuing on, just follow along the silhouette of the letters. While the glue does dry fast, be careful not to use too much. It might overlap onto the front of the box, sticking to whatever you're working on. Also, the glue might seep through and leave a mark on the red acetate paper. So just be patient when you do it. Once you've done the interior of the silhouette, just go along the four sides and glue them up, reinforcing that it won't get undone. And flip it around. Looks good, but if you look closely, you'll see that a bit of the glue seeped through and made a bit of a mess, and tore off a piece of the brown paper I was working on. I can fix that up later with black paint. Now, because of the spelling, the circle in the D, the A, and the L all need to be placed in manually. It's a bit of a point precision job, so I'm going to use a pair of tweezers and just dab a bit of glue on there and slowly put it on there gently. If it's too hard for you to push it down with your finger, grab a third little something like a needle and just poke it into place. Now that we're all done, it looks pretty good. You can see a few minor scratches, but nothing that sticks out. Fold up your box and there you go. Leave one side undone and place your light inside. Pop it in, and you have yourself a Devil May Cry sign. Alright, so for this build we're going to need a few extra things. This I bought at a local dollar store. I'm not really sure what it is. I think you put your pencils in it or planch or something like that. All I know is that it's empty on the inside and I can flip it over. It only cost me about $1.25. This is a piece of plexiglass. It's still got its film on it so you can't see it, but it is clear when you take it off. Plexiglass is like a plastic version of glass. You can bend it and scratch it, but it won't shatter if you do that. This was an interesting light I found at a local Chinese dollar store. They had a few more different options than the chain dollar store, and I happened to come across this, which turned out perfect for my project. If you can't find something like this at a dollar store near you, try a Walmart or Big Lots. Now, this is a Dremel. These are usually pretty expensive, and the only reason I'm doing this project in the first place is because I found this on special for super cheap. It comes with a bag with a few different type of Dremel bits. But for this build, I'll be mainly using the cone-shaped one with a pointy tip. So because I'm working with plexiglass, I'm going to lay down this piece of paper over it. I want to avoid any bumps that might lead to scratches on my plexiglass. So I pull out my plexiglass and take off only one side of the plastic protective paper. I'm going to leave the back part on so it still looks frosted. But once I pull that off, it'll come out clear. Position your Devil May Cry sign however high or low you want to do it. Because I know part of it will be sticking in to hide where the light will be beaming out, I'm going to place it a bit higher up. Therefore, the base of the paper will be on the base of the plexiglass, putting the sign a little more towards the top. Tape it down to hold it in place. And once you're ready, start cutting out the Devil May Cry sign. Now since you've already seen me do this on the box, I'm going to kind of just speed through this part. Really take your time with this. Any scratch or misstep will lead to a permanent mark on your plexiglass. So just take your time and go easy with it. I'm just doing a speed up of me cutting it out, but this probably took me close to an hour, which definitely gave me some time to catch up on a few podcasts. Once you have it etched out, go ahead and take off your paper. Again, because of all the light I'm using, it's hard for you guys to see, but if you look closely enough, there is an etching on there. Sorry for the bad quality. One of the things I'm looking forward to getting is a new camera once I can afford it. Go ahead and pull out your Dremel. I'm going to go along the outside of the DMC sign, since I want to leave the middle part clear. The Dremel will softly scratch the surface, leaving a frosted-like look to it. I'm really sorry you guys can't see what I'm doing here, so I'm just going to speed this part up. I used the cone Dremel bit for most of my etching, but when it came to little sharp corners, or say the E, the A, and the L dots, I used a cylinder one that had a sharper edge to reach those tight spots. Now pull out your pencil holder or plant thing, whatever it is, and switch your Dremel bit to what looks like a buzzsaw but made out of sandpaper. Now you're cutting directly into this thing, so some plastic might go flying around. Get a pair of goggles. I didn't have anything traditional in the way of goggles, so I just used ski goggles. Literally anything will do to protect your eyes, even if they're glasses. Just be careful and stay safe when you're doing this. Nobody wants to lose an eye over a shitty craft project. Because the entire thing is sanded, I can use this on top to get rid of all the uneven edged plastic that might be popping out. Putting the plexiglass in there, it fits really nicely. Once you're satisfied with it, bring it outside and spray paint it black. Well, I spray painted it black, but you can spray paint it any color. Also, because it's a see-through plastic, I did 4 coats of black spray paint on this, so I'm glad I didn't use it all on the box. While that dries, I go back inside and start disassembling the flashlight. See, now this flashlight's perfect. It's just 2 LED strips. I can pop them out and line them up side by side. This really was a perfect find. Now I know I've seen people use LED strips in the past, but I'm not sure how that works. I'm sure in later videos I'll try to figure that out for you guys, but for this one I just used household dollar store items and whatnot. Now this was just a really big piece of plastic here. I could have removed that. So I grab my Dremel and start cutting out all the unnecessary parts. Make sure that you don't cut the wire by accident though, otherwise you might have to buy a new one. Now look at all that excess plastic I didn't need. Now I can just line these up right next to each other. Grab your red acetate paper and cut out a little strip. This is going to go over the LED light part, changing it from white to red. You can do this with any color you want. I chose red because that's the original sign in Dante's Devil May Cry shop. You can do something more soothing like blue if you want to. Cut it so it fits nicely. Once you have the right size, cut out a piece of duct tape. Place it underneath the LED light so that the LED lights are facing upward. Make sure it lies down flat. Put your red strip on top of it, and make sure that lies down flat too. Make sure it's sticking to it, and then cut off any excess. We sacrifice a bit of brightness, but it'll come out as a nice red this way. Same for the other side. Lay down the red strip, and when you're ready, cut off the excess accordingly. There we go, that doesn't look too bad. Now I want to keep these two battery chambers together, so using the glue gun, I'm going to glue them together. Also the switch, I'm going to glue that to one of the flat sides, that way it doesn't move around. The hot glue shouldn't affect the wiring at all, so don't worry about that. Place it on somewhere you know you'll be able to reach. That way you can turn it on and off at your leisure. Really hot glue that thing on. The worst thing that can happen is it comes off in the middle of you using it while trying to show off to your friends. I also taped down the wires so they wouldn't be getting in the way. So now that my base is dry, I bring it back in. Once I like where the lights are, I'm going to tape them down using the electrical tape. It won't affect the light source as long as you don't cover the rim. Once you're done taping it, grab your duct tape again and overlap the entire taped section off. Again, duct tape is a lot stronger. That way it'll hold better. You don't want this thing falling apart 1 week from now. Slide the base on and let it sink to the bottom. Using your glue gun, glue the plexiglass down to the hole, meaning this won't move anymore, so make sure it's perfectly straight when you begin gluing it down. Also, this is going to use a lot of glue, so make sure you have plenty handy. Once it's in there, I place it upside down and do a second layer of glue, just to make sure that nothing ever happens. Once it's in there stable, find a good place to put your batteries and glue the edges. Somewhere nice and hidden away. Usually there should still be room underneath the base. Let's turn it on and see how it looks. And there you go. One fiberglass, Devil May Cry, and sign. Alright, we're all finished here. Now let's take a look at the final result.
Alright guys, that about does it for today. Overall, I'm really happy with how these guys came out. They look really good. I especially like this one. Like I said, you know, if you want to have your kid or something do a little project, this would be the better option to do. You know, it doesn't cost much at all. This one is a little more, again, high maintenance, but it came out looking really good. I'm really happy with the results. This one's definitely going up in my room. This is definitely something, you know, for a nightlight or something like that. It's pretty good looking. I also want to give a huge shout out to Low IC, who sent me a picture after he made his Devil May Cry neon sign. He sent me a picture of the one that he made based on the video that I had. He also used something called Sugru, Black Sugru. I've never heard of that. Black Sugru, it's like a putty or something like that, and he used that instead of the black electrical tape that I used. It looks like it came out really well. Again, awesome job, dude. So if you like what I'm doing here and you want to see me do more, or you have a suggestion for what I should do next, comment down below. It really helps me out. Otherwise, I will see you on the next one.